Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this fine day's episode of Multiply Mornings. Guys, it is a killer day because it's a day in which we are alive and we're able to do something and make the best of it. I'm really having to learn that for myself, like hardcore right now. What I mean by that, oh geez, did you hear that voice crack? What I mean by that is that basically that I'm like a person who gets really set on something. And I like work at it really hard to get there, and that's like multimedia and like whatever that may be for you too. Maybe you don't like your job, maybe you don't like something in your life, and you're like, I just can't stand it, I don't want to do this right now, I don't want to be here right now, I don't want to do it. Like that's where I'm at today, is like I want to just be in a specific place in my life, but I'm not there yet. But today's a day in which we can make the best of what we've got. And that's important because life is always going to be never going to be perfect, is what I mean to say. Life is never going to be perfect, so we have to make the best of it, and today is a day in which we can make the best of it. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good to me, to have a good day, you know, and to make the best. But today, that's not exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about something a little different, so let's jump into it. Alright, so if you'll turn your Bibles to the book of John, John chapter 8. So I was thinking about like this mentality we have today. Like, it seems like every day we're also ready to throw stones at each other. We're also ready to go after one another. There's no like bond and unity anymore. The church is supposed to be something special, something like nothing else in the world. But we see more of the world creeping into the church than we see the church going into the world, I should say. And so like I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about it, trying to figure out like, man, what's wrong? And I found one of the most fundamental stories. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times. If you haven't, well, you're gonna hear it a lot after this one probably. But you know what, the thing is, we look at this, we look at what we do, and we see such as like throw first, think later. You know, we don't really, it's not even about the group, it's about me. It's about what I want. I don't care what this guy wants. What are you talking about? He can get over himself. But we've stopped thinking about other people and like what that means. And so John chapter 8, I keep saying Luke because I was looking at Luke earlier. John chapter 8 we're starting verse 1 and we'll kind of make our way down, okay? Let's take a look. It says, and they each went to his own house, and Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning he came again to the temple, and all came to him, and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, placed her in the midst, and they said to him, Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now, the law of Moses commands us to stone such a woman. So what do we do? They said this to test him, that he might have some charge to be against him. Jesus bent down and wrote in the finger of the ground. And he asked them, and as they continued to ask him, he stood up at them and said, Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And once more he bent down and wrote in the ground. But when they heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus stood up and said to her, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus said, Neither do I condemn you. Go from now and sin no more. So, take a second here, okay? So, Jesus is sitting here, and we all know the Pharisees were constantly trying to trip Jesus up. They were trying to make him say something that they could work around both angles, all these different things. And Jesus comes here, and he says this to them. He says, you know, they come over, the law of Moses says this woman's to be killed, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, let's do it. Jesus, are you ready? Let's do it. And Jesus says to them, he bends down and draws a line in the sand. And he says to them, Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And I find it interesting here, a couple things about this. First off, Jesus lays down this line saying, you know, basically saying that sin is sin. We all understand the buffer that, well, you should, that sin is sin. That there's not a classification of sin. Sin in any sense is sin, and it's bad. And so there's not anything worse of sin than the basic to the most. There's not anything as a worse sin from the basic to the high. You know, whether it's a lie or it's murder, all in God's eyes is sin. Now, as humans, we put certain connotations, certain levels to it because the way we have punishments towards it. But Jesus is saying to this, he's like, this woman, you know, she is just a sinner. She's just someone who sinned like us. If you're without sin, cast that first stone. If you are able to be the one who's perfect and to judge, to throw it. And I like the way that, I see the way that it's the older ones that cast the stones first, because they're the wise. They realize that, yeah, I'm bad too. I can't throw this stone. I can't say that I'm perfect. And then gradually down to the more inexperienced, the younger men and everything like that. But the reason this is so important, guys, is because so often in the church and like in our lives today, we're so potent on people's problems. When we see something going on, we're ready to go at them, to be like, what's up? God, they can't be here. They can't do this. But Jesus is saying, you're not perfect either. You're not there. You're not that, you don't, why are you doing this? And I think the thing is, guys, is that it's so easy for us to get so caught up in this moment to the flesh, to be the flesh that is above us and think we're here. But dirt versus dirt is still dirt. Like if we were to take, and I was to take you on the floor of I was to take, okay, let's say here. I was to take you and put you on a kitchen floor, right? And it's a kind of a tile, so I set you down there, and I set some food on it for you, and I say, eat it. Or I go right next to it a couple feet over, and I smear dirt, and I put all this stuff on it, and I put that on there, and I say, eat, choose which one you want to eat. Do you want to eat from that one or this one? Obviously, you're probably going to choose the one that's not got all the dirt smeared all over it, right? But the thing is that both of those are dirty. Both of those are not sanitary. If the health department walked in and saw you doing either one of those, they would say that's a health code violation. You know what I'm saying? So both of them are not clean. You see, it doesn't matter that there's more dirt on one side than the other side. They're both dirty. And I think Jesus is trying to teach us this lesson is that we can't be the ones to go out casting stones. We're not the ones to go out and be that. We're here to preach truth. God convicts. I tell you, when somebody tells me something, if you were to say to me, Daniel, you're doing this wrong, and you don't, and I was like, who are you telling me what I'm doing wrong? Who are you? Like, what is your position? What makes you so much better or whatever? I would get defensive. And I would be like, I would harden my heart. But whenever somebody says something and they don't direct it towards me, I hear something, all of a sudden it gets me thinking. And I start saying, man, that's me. I need to do that. That's what I'm doing. I'm wrong. Then it begins to be the God's working in my heart. And that's when true change happens. One of the biggest things when Jude and I were getting married, we had counseling with a great pastor I know named Curtis, and we were sitting there and Curtis was talking to us. He's like, first thing is, you can never change anybody. Only God can. So never get married thinking you can change the person that you're with. If you don't love them for who they are, there's something about them you can't stand, you hope you can change after you're married, don't do it. Because you can't. Only God can change. Only God can change people. And so whenever I come up, if there was something I wanted to change about Judah before we got married, I'm hopeless because she is who she is. You see what I'm saying? Now God can do a work, God can change things, but that should never be a staple. I'm going to work with her to get this. No, I love her for who she is. And she loves me for who I am. And no, we're not perfect, but we understand that about each other. And we love each other through the imperfections. You see what I'm saying? So the point I'm trying to get at here, guys, is we have to get past this throw first mentality. This angered mentality. Love has to be our first thing. And we see this kind of a little more. I look down below and I see what Jesus says in the next thing. Verse 12 is where we're going to pick up here, guys. It says, again Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So the Pharisees said to him, who you are bearing witness about yourself? Your testimony is not true. And Jesus answered, even if I do not bear witness about myself, my testimony is true. I know where I am, I know where I came from, and I know where I'm going. And he says here, he goes on to say, but you do not know where I come from, you do not know where I'm going. You judge only according to flesh. I judged no one. So here's the thing. Jesus is saying to them, I know who I am. I'm the light in the darkness. I'm a city on a hill that cannot be hidden. I am God. And they look at him and say, you're bearing this about, you're saying about yourself. Your testimony's not true. You're just saying stuff. It's like if I walked out and I said, I'm Superman. I can fly. And they're like, well, then fly. You know what I mean? But Jesus backed it up. And he comes up here and says, you don't know who I am. You don't know where I'm going. Just like when we hear something from someone, we're like, we don't like it. It's like somebody comes in, they say something like, we're like, dude, who makes you so good to say something like that? Why are you? We don't know where they are. We don't know where they're coming from. We don't know why that person walks in the door and they act a certain way. They talk a certain way. They do certain ways. They react in a certain way. Everything has a purpose behind it. But Jesus right here is saying I am God. And they're like, you don't know. But Jesus like, you don't know who I am. You don't know where I come from. You don't know where I'm going. In the same sense, that's what we have to make an idea. When we look at people, we see what they're doing. We don't know where they come from. We don't know where they're going. We don't know what's going on in here. We don't know what's going on here. We don't know what's going on in here. We don't know what's happening in their brain, where they're at in their life. So for us to stand here and try to ridicule and say, this is just, you're horrible, you are bad. It's like, where am I? Where did I come off to get this? Why am I the one that needs to say this? I don't know who this is. I don't know what's happened, what tragedy just happened in life, why they cut me off on the road. Maybe somebody cuts me off on the road. I'm so ready to get out there and get in a fight with them, and meanwhile they're just trying to get to work, or maybe there's somebody, a family member's hurt, and they're trying to get to the hospital as soon as they can, or maybe something's gone terribly wrong. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't know everything. We look at it from one perspective, but God says you have to look at yourself first. Let he who is without sin, be the one that worry about the plank in your eye before you worry about the speck in your brother's. Worry about what's in your own life, what you can control. Getting past what I need to get past. Don't worry about Johnny across the street and Joey at church or Martha at Bible study. Who cares? They're them. I can worry about me and what I do and where I go. Now, that doesn't mean I don't speak the name that he's sick. I don't tell people what's right and what's wrong. But it doesn't mean that I'm ready to cast stones. I'm ready to throw someone out. I'm ready to be this person of anger. No. Quite the opposite. I'm somebody who gives all, who's there to willingly open up and say, come on, everybody. I'm here for you. I'm ready for you. And to love through the sorrow, through the pain. What do you guys think about that? Comment down below where you're at in your life right now. Like, what's going on? What's happening? Where are you at in your relationship with God right now? Is anything going on that you need to talk about? All that. Just comment down below, guys. I'm glad to hear it. Love to answer questions, different things like that. Did you get a chance to watch our new video yesterday? We put out our Thou Shalt Gaming episode. It was a Thou Shalt Gaming episode. Skyblocks. We started a new world. It's really good. It's by far the best gaming video we've ever put out. I really enjoy it. I think it's really good and funny, and I think you guys would, and just entertaining too. Like, it's just fun to watch. So check it out. Tell us what you think about it, guys. We have another one coming out. I think it'll be out tomorrow. Actually, we're shooting for a Monday or Tuesday Skyblocks, Thursday another episode of another random game. But I think this week's gonna be both Skyblocks, and after that, I'll go to that iteration. Hopefully, we can get everything worked out. So. Alright, guys, well, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you like what we do here, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time. God bless. Have a great day.